Hello. Actually, having a bit more energy today. I took off. I took the day off early. Because I was just, I don't know, didn't really feel like working. I know that sounds weird and crazy, and I'll have to work extra hours next week because of it. But I just didn't really have motivation today. And I was feeling really sad. And I think I was just feeling sad because I was hungry. So I went home and I ate some food and I almost fell asleep, but I just lay a bit on the couch and I actually started to feel better. That's crazy, right? And then I was like, oh, I could, start working again because I have an office job, so I can basically just take out my laptop and start working. But then I was like, maybe I should just do a bit of cleaning because we really need that in our apartment right now. And I can maybe also record a video. And I have actually been thinking about, maybe you don't know this, but I spent a lot of time thinking about White Forest and have been creating two new builds in the last couple of days, but those will be for another video, I guess, because for today I just sort of wanted to brush a bit up on the build I showed in the previous video, because I will be trying to take it to locals, and so I have worked a bit on it and made some changes and some optimizations, I feel. So some of it I have done on this deck. Oh, my skin is like super dry, Jesus. And others I have just done on my online deck list, so we'll need to update some cards here. But I guess we can just go over the extra deck really quickly. So in the last video I was playing Super Polymerization and Nut Dragoon, and I feel like I figured out that video that Dragoon is pretty nice just because you do, when you go combo and you get to combo, you do have some extra bodies on the field in form of the White Forest monsters. And when I'm playing this linkless build, there's not a lot of stuff to sort of go into, as you say, like not a ton of stuff you can do with the bodies. So having the Dragoon is just a nice way of taking 3 White Forest monsters and turning them into a Dragoon. Of course, you don't need to do it, and when you get stopped and you don't do the full combo, you just don't make the Dragoon, right? So it's pretty simple. Also, there is like this card here, Lebellion Searing Dragon, which you can play instead of, or I guess on top of, Albion, the branded dragon, because it takes a Fallen of Elbas and a Dark monster. So if you have something like a Muddy Mud Dragon and a Black Witch, or you have something like a Muddy Mud Dragon and an Asamina monster, you can turn that into Lebellion, and then you can use Lebellion's effect and discard a card, and you can make Dragoon in that way. And I feel like the only issue with this is that basically you have to discard a card in addition, and also a lot of the dark monsters, like the Black Witch and the Asamina monsters, you kind of want to keep them on the field anyway. Like Risialago, you want to pop with Regina to get the extra search. Black Witch is like a great thing to end on, and the same thing with Queen Asmina. It's also like pretty decent thing to end on depending on what you have. So it's like I felt like I was a bit forced to play this, but you could of course do it. Also, like just ending on the Mighty Mud Dragon is actually not as bad as it seems, because during your opponent's turn you can like summon back a White Forest monster, or you can just use the Mighty Mud Dragon and Diabell after you use Diabell to summon to fusion summon with the fusion spell, and then you can just use Mighty Mud Dragon and Diabell or Silvera or something like that, and you can just make Dragoon in your opponent's turn. So if you are missing the last body to make Dragoon, then just ending on a Mighty Mud Dragon I don't feel like is that terrible. And I wanted to try Draco Stipelia as well, because you can make this with a fusion and a dark monster, and it's essentially like a monster negate. It's actually pretty good. And so if you, for example, don't get to do a whole lot, like you don't get a full combo off or something like that, but you do have the fusion spell, then you can take, one of your Asaminas and your witch or something, and during your opponent's turn you can fuse them into this one. So I felt like this one would come up a lot more when you're like having a half board or something like that, or maybe you only see the Asamina part of the engine, but you do get the fusion spell. So you can't make Dragoon or something like that. This is still pretty nice alternative to Guardian Chimera, because sometimes Guardian Chimera is a bit awkward, because maybe they'll force out your fusion or something like that, or they'll summon a monster that you really want to out, but going into Guardian Chimera can be a bit rough if you, for example, normally you don't always have a card in your hand, a monster in your hand that you can use, because you have to use the Diabell first in order for Ilset in the graveyard to trigger and add back to the hand. And maybe you want to wait with using Diabell, but then they have this monster, or you just like, I just feel like this card maybe gives me a bit more flexibility, but I haven't played against anyone with this deck build, so it's hard for me to know. But yeah, so basically took out the what I did was I took out the fusion super polymerization targets, and I basically just put in the Dragoon package and the Draco Stipelia. So that was pretty much it in terms of changes to the extract. And the reason I took out super polymerization, I feel like I also found that out during the previous video, but Droplet is probably just a little bit better in this deck. And you could of course play both, but I'm always coping super hard on super polymerization, but I genuinely don't feel like it's super strong right now in the format. I feel like Droplet is better, and playing both Droplet and super poly is like so resource intensive. And yeah, super poly you have to discard a card from hand. I just like the way Droplet works with resources a little bit better, especially because we have a lot of quick plays and stuff like that, and in general just a lot of spell cards. But yeah, also I completely forgot I have Tilda's Moomin Cup and some tea in it for today. I was originally supposed to drink coffee, but I've been trying to dial down on my coffee intake, and also sometimes, I don't know, coffee has just gotten to be, for me, coffee has been like sort of linked to work. So I feel like sometimes the joy of coffee has left a bit, because it's always something I drink at work when I have to do stuff, when I have to get motivated. And since I've started drinking tea home, like, because trying to dial down on coffee and take tea has sort of become associated for me with, you know, making videos and stuff I do in my free time. And I also noticed that I don't really need the caffeine for making videos because I'm just so excited about making these videos anyway. So I just get boosted naturally and I don't need the caffeine from coffee. I still really like the taste, of course, so maybe I'll buy some caffeine-free coffee, but for now I like tea as well, and I also, it feels nice to drink more tea, to be honest. But anyway, so in the main deck, to be honest, I can't really remember what I changed. But oh yeah, we could maybe just go over the side deck quickly. I am playing all these 3 traps as my going first cards. Betrayal is like, I think it's still a kind of experimenting with, but I really like it against something like draw, because a lot of times under draw you don't really have a good set with witch if you already have the fusion spell, or if you just get hard stopped early, then you can just set this with witch and have her be an omni negate, and it's just really nice, right? Also, you know, sense the witch and you get you the witch back for follow-up. Then of course we have APs, because this is the most high ceiling card in the entire archetype, I guess. It's even better than an omni negate, I feel like. It's just so powerful when you go full combos. So we decided in going first because we might go full combo, and it's also pretty decent if you like, even if you go half combo, you can still like bounce 2 things sometimes. Of course, when you get full stopped, this card does absolutely nothing. And that's why I'm also playing a copy of Woes, because if I get stopped really early on, like with a draw, I want to just search Woes. For example, if I go normal summon Sylvie, and I do have a follow-up play in my hand, I'll just search Woes, and then if I get drawled, at least I have the Woes. And so this is like, compared to APs, it has a much higher floor, but it's obviously much weaker when you go full combo, because, you know, these days the White Forest has a mean full combo and some like 6 monsters on the field, so sometimes you don't even have space to activate Woes. But if that happens, hey, you don't really care too much because you're probably winning that game anyway. But if you get stopped, then Woes is really nice. And so that's my going first cards. And then I wanted to try something that I saw in a Joshua Smith video, and I think it makes a lot of sense, like some lightning storms and a feather duster. I feel like back row removal, this format is pretty clutch actually. And I am playing a breaker build, I guess you could say. A breaker build with some hand traps, I guess. And yeah, so I feel like these could be nice, but we'll see. Then I am playing three draws and luckbirds for something like Mermail or Heroes or whatever, some degenerate combo deck, including our own. And I am playing 3 Meows. This is mainly for Malice, but I guess it could be used for other matchups as well. And then of course 3 Lancia from Malice, because Malice is super powerful. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Side decent going first, side decent going second, and then these are matchup specific. Right, I don't know why I'm doing it like a deck profile, but yeah, let's see what we had for the engine here. I'm just gonna put this, let's go just the one-offs here. These should be 3S, one-off, and then the non-engine here, because I do have some changes. Oh yeah, definitely not playing Dark Hole. That's for sure. And this is kind of an engine piece anyway. Just like non-engine. Oh, it's weird. I'm trying to look past the camera. One off, and then we're playing the 3 Debtors, Dark Hole, Sylvie, non-engine, then this, and then engine, not engine, not engine. And then these, and this, and the queen, because we are rocking the queen build. Then engine, debtors over here, and engine, and then this. Okay, so let's look at the engine first, because I did have some changes that I wanted to make. So of course, yeah. So of course, are playing the 3 Sylvies and the 3 L-sets, pretty standard. Then I am playing the 1 Estella because, yeah, you'll see, and 1 Diavelsta and 1 Rusha. And then in the new build here, I went down to just 1 Asmina set. And one of the reasons was that in my previous build, I have woes, and using woes with Asmina set, like just summoning Asmina set directly from the deck with woes, is really powerful, and sometimes you don't get to shuffle the Asmina set from your graveyard in, and sometimes it gets bestialed, and other times you just shuffle one of the other Asmina cards in or monsters in, and then it's also nice to have extras for follow-up when you go start your second turn, just to grab more of them, honestly. So it's a strong card, right? The only thing is that it doesn't. Basically, what I realized was that for this to be a very good card, you need to already have another White Forest monster in play. And I mean, that's pretty obvious, right? It doesn't do anything on its own, but it's super powerful if you have another White Forest monster. And I was just thinking, since I am running 3 copies of Tails, then having, if you compare these 2 cards, they're both only really activatable if you have another monster on the field. They're both only really useful if you have another monster on the field, and this one, the Tails just grabs any of your White Forest. So my idea was the Tails can always grab the Asmina set, whereas the Asmina set, it can potentially be another White Forest. So I was just thinking I can just grab my the Asmina set with Tails instead. And I am running 3 of Tails, and it's like I was trying to make room for more non-engine, right? That's why I cut down on the Asmina set, to be honest with you. But I was also like trying out, maybe just 2 copies of Tail, 2 copies of Asmina set, and that might be correct. And I do think you can break on Tails. If you, for example, if you draw 2 Tails, then it's a pretty big likelihood that you're not going to be able to play. But the thing I really like about Tails is that with Debtors, it's not super unrealistic for us to just, our first play just be Debtors or Hallowed, and we just set up an Omni, right? And then if you have Tails, you can just fish out your Estella, and you can just do the full combo. So it's like playing multiple copies of Estella, like playing up to 4 copies of Estella in that scenario, while only actually playing 1 copy of Estella in your deck. And I guess that was the same reason for the Asmina set. And I do think that we have a pretty high likelihood of having an Illusion or Spellcaster with this build, since we are playing 3 Debtors. At least that was the that was the idea. That was my idea. But we'll see. I mean, sometimes obviously it doesn't do anything on its own, and obviously it's bad. It's like bad to draw in multiples, right? But do you feel like we do have a lot of cards that can put a spellcaster or an illusion monster on the field. So I'm trying 3 copies here. Maybe it should be 2 copies, but either way, I'm going down in consistency, right? I'm removing Asaminal sets. I'm potentially also removing tails. And it's like, why am I doing this? It's really just to up the non-engine count, because I do feel like the non-engine count in the last video was too low, honestly. And you know, the whole idea with this build was to try to create a version that could potentially go second a bit better, right? That was like the main idea with Debtors. And if you don't have a lot of non-engine, you know, be it board breakers, be it hand traps, then you're just naturally gonna have a hard time going second. So I feel like I had to cut a bit down on consistency, and I took out 2 Asaminal sets for that reason, and potentially also taking out one of the tails, but I don't know. I don't know. It's funny because I feel like tails is one of those cards where when you brick on it, you really notice, right? When you open like 4 non-engine and 1 tails and you just can't play, you just notice this a lot. But when you have it in your hand and you have a play and tails is just perfect extender, I feel like you don't notice it as much. You don't appreciate it as much when it works, right? Or when you, yeah, when you have just one other monster you can summon to the field and they interrupt it, and then tails just, you know, lets you go combo anyway. And so I do feel like maybe some people are having like a confirmation bias thing with it, where they see when they brick on it and they're like, that should never happen, I should never brick on it, and so they take out copies, but they don't notice you when the card wins them the game, because it's not super noticeable anyway, it's just a rota, right? But yeah, so I don't know. It could be that it's also just correct to play fewer copies, just 2. That could be correct. But I like the idea of 2, because then at least your chance of drawing doubles of them is super low. And so you could argue that, hey, if my chance of drawing duplicates is super low, then when I draw 2 engine cards, then there's a pretty high chance of the other engine card being you know, something that puts an illusion or spellcast on the field. So I think that argument could be pretty valid. I don't see the reason for playing 1, to be honest. I think that's, you know, that I feel like that's a bit of confirmation bias, where you brick on it and then you think that it's a bad card because it has this restriction, or it has this activation requirement. But yeah. And then of course 3 Wanted, probably one of the best cards in this build. Like, that's just a crazy powerful card. And then we are playing the queen, right? I'm just gonna say, spoiler alert here, the queen has not really come up in any of the combos I have made. So like, I feel like the queen can come up in a lot of you know, grindy scenarios, and a lot of like 5-card combinations, you know, when you just draw a test hand. And you know, she can be pretty decent, right? But I feel like when I'm just doing an Estella combo, I'm pretty much never searching the queen, because it basically is, when you do these 1-card combos, you just really need the spells and traps to send for the white forest monsters, and you know, queen is of course not a spell and trap, and sometimes she can also be a bit awkward, where you want to like maximize your use of your fusion spells, right? So you sometimes, when you have queen, you have a chance of making Saint Asamina, right? But it's often sometimes it's correct not to make Saint Asamina, even though you can, just because if you make Risiolago, for example, you can get another sinful spell, and that could potentially allow you to make Saint later. And so you probably sometimes make Risiolago, but then when you get to your second activation of Hell, you're like, you should really just make the Omni Negate, right? So it's like, when you get to see, I feel like it comes up when you get to see the Debtors or when you get the Diabell add back of the Hallowed so that you can activate Hallowed 3 times. That's where I feel like Queen Asmina really comes up, because that's when you need the extra resources. Usually during the other combos, you have the Sinful Spells cards in order to summon Rizzo Lago and Ilia Sylvia, but you often don't have the resources to make Saint Asmina with you know, to make her using one of the Asmina fusion spells. So, and Queen definitely lets you make Saint Asmina with the you know, the way, the intended way, right? So, yeah, I still think she's a super cool card, but maybe not super competitive. I don't know. She's nice. I think she's super cool. And then I'm playing 2 copies of fusion spells and 1 copies of sorceress, and 2 fusion spells. It was 3 in the last video, but it's honestly a bit hard to use going second. I had this idea where you like, okay, summon Ilias, summon like a Sylvie, and you activate her effect, then they go detonator chain to pop the Sylvie, and then you go, oh, I can just use her as fusion material. But then they can just chain detonator again and destroy her again, and then you don't have her as a fusion material once the spell resolves. So yeah, I have a hard time seeing this as a reliable board breaker, at least against Ritual, but I do think it could maybe be good against other decks. I'm still holding out hope for this card as a board breaker. I'm playing 2 because it actually does come up in some of the combos where in this build where you want to go through the first one purely to use it as resources, like you use it for resources for the White Forest monster effects, and or you use it to send it to the graveyard because it's a Sinful Spoils card to fusion summon an Asmina, and actually never activate it. And then once you get further into the combo, it's basically like when you use Asmina set to synchro summon, you search a Sinful Spoil spells, and you want it to be a card that you could send to the graveyard for the White Forest monsters, specifically for something like LZ, and have it come back, and then use it as a Sinful Spoil spell to summon an Asmina monster, or just to pitch it for another White Forest effect. And so sometimes you just go through the first one, and you'd think that you'd be able to add it back from the graveyard then with Diabell, and you would, except that when you want to use this to fusion summon Diabell, to fusion summon Saint Asmina using Diabell and a fusion monster, that of course basically has to be what am I saying? Basically, you sometimes this is not in the grave when you actually summon Diabell, because if you, for example, go through the Estella combo, this card is used as synchro material to make Diabell, and this is the card that searches you the fusion spell. So in that line, you don't actually have the fusion spell in the graveyard once Diabell gets summoned and gets to add something back. And then you do the thing where you have to use this as a resource, and then you want the second one to search of Risiolago, yeah. It was a very long-winded explanation, but I feel like 2 copies does actually come up quite a bit and does make the combo a lot smoother. And then also, the second copy is, I guess, instead of Woes or something like that, or one of the trap cards that I have in my side card, that would be the card you'd use here. And what I like about having this is that this is often a lot better to open, because it's a Sinful Spells card, right? So you can just use it for Debtors, or you can basically you can just use it as a fusion material, or you can use it to send it to the graveyard. So it's like it has the woes upside that you can send it to the graveyard and comes back with for the White Forest effects. But then it's also a simple spell, right? So you can also use it with Debtors, with Hallowed and stuff like that. And you can do both things, right? You can just send it to the graveyard, have it come back, and then use it to summon something and as Mina monster out later. And I feel like that flexibility just makes a lot of difference. And when I am running 3 copies of Debtors in the main deck, I do want to maximize the number of Sinful Spells card. And I was just looking a lot to see, okay, what engine cards can you remove and replace them with Sinful Spells cards? And it's really tough, right? You obviously can. I'm pretty much running the lowest monster count you can. Like, I don't see you running any fewer monsters than these, except maybe you could have got the Queen, right? But so I was looking at the spell cards. What can you cut at the spells and traps, right? What can you cut to fill in more simple spells? And I did see that the woes, is not actually a simple spell. So that is somewhere we could fit in more simple spells, and maybe also cutting one of the tails if I do think I want even less consistency. But yeah. And then the sorcerers, I'm still kind of in doubts about this. The idea behind it is that you can use it to summon back Dragoon using the opponent's turn. That's like the baseline idea. It's a way of getting higher ceiling on your combo because you can summon back Dragoon, so you can use Dragoon twice during your opponent's turn. Then it's also really nice in the grind game. So say you don't get to do that, but you get to get to Dragoon. When it gets back to you, you can search this and you can summon back you can summon back your Dragoon. Or if you never got to Dragoon, if you never got that far, you can summon back the Diabell, you can summon back any of the Asmina monsters, right? And this also summons back from Banish. So if you get Bestialed, you can just summon that right back. You can in very rare case use this to dodge hand traps. It's very rough because you need a monster, you need a target in the graveyard to be able to activate this. So, if you go, it's just a normal summon Sylvie and they try to imperm it, you can technically change Sorceress to bounce it back to the hand and have it resolve. But you need something in the graveyard and to summon back to do that, and usually you don't, right? So it's like a grindy card and something that adds to your ceiling, but there is, a lot of scenarios where it doesn't really do anything. I will also say that with woes, if we have woes, and we will have that post sighting, you can also summon out the Book of Eclipse, right, Silvera, and then you can use Silvera as a fusion material. And since it was properly summoned, you can then Sorceress it back from the graveyard during your opponent's turn. So it's basically an end board piece, but it doesn't. The thing I don't like about it is that you have to kind of get to Dragoon, or basically also post sighting. You can also pop the Ilia Sylvia to search out the. You can also pop the Ilia Sylvia to search out this. Oh wait, where's my side deck? To search out the Betrayal trap card, and then you can just Sorceress it back during your opponent's turn. So that's another way of getting an extra Omni. It's basically an extra Omni if you get to play, and if you don't get to play, it doesn't do a ton, honestly. It does not really do incredible things. So I just wanted something that was a simple spell. And when I did some test hands and did some combos, I realized that sometimes you do want something else other than the fusion spell. So just to have some diversity in the things that you're searching. So yeah, that's the reason, but it could honestly be something else. I just really wanted to try to maximize out on this Info Sports card and this build. And where is the... Oh yeah, okay. And then I do also run one copy of Deception Subversion. You could, I guess, also count this as non-engine, but it's kind of not incredible, so I put it with the engine because that's the reason we're playing it, right? As a simple spells card, and I do think that it's really nice. I'm honestly at the point where I don't really want to side it out going first even, because it's an extra simple spell. So if you open it, you sometimes just get to do incredible things because you have an extra simple spells card in your hand, and that's sort of the thing. That's also why I played Sorceress. That's why I played Double Fusion Spell, because I do feel like in this build, we just need to maximize the simple spells card that we have, because Debtors, of course, I need to actually also put Debtors in. Debtors just becomes, it's not even activatable if you don't have a simple spell. So I was about to say it becomes so much stronger if you have a simple spell, but it's legit not even activatable. But I mean, just hard opening a simple spell becomes a lot more worth it. Yeah. I guess you could also like, yeah, the Sorceress is mainly for Dragoon. Sometimes Ilia Sylvia as well, if you choose to pop her. And then post-siding, yeah, you can also, use it with woes, right, to get multiple Book of Eclipses. But the main thing is that it's pretty nice in the grind game, because it can get you things back from the graveyard or banish, and it doesn't target whatever you're getting back, right? It targets whatever is on the field. So if they can deal with that, then they can out it, but it doesn't target anything in the graveyard or banish. So it can be help them to like know what you're getting back and some stuff like that. So that's the idea, I guess, and that's 26 engine. So it's a lot of engine. I dropped down the consistency of the deck, which feels bad, but I still think like we have 6 starters, 7 starters, I guess, and then we have tails, which brings us to 10. Of course, we need a spellcaster on the field, or an illusion, but we do have 3 wanted. We have 3 debtors. We have the Rusia, the Ilset, Asamina, and the Dear Bell. So, and then we also have the Deception, could also potentially work. So do you feel like there's a lot of ways to make it activatable? And yeah. And then for the non-engine, I'm still just, I only have the one Frivolous, so I really wanted to play more. I actually think maybe a good version of White Forest is actually just playing a bunch of Mulchamis, because you can pretty much get rid of them with Wedge and Deception on your own turn, so you don't really mind opening them. I mean, sometimes they can be bad, right? But yeah, and then of course Ash just for the Chamis and stuff. So playing these 4 here, and then let me just put these 3 here, and then 3 Droplet, because I feel like Droplet is a really powerful. Oh, I guess I only had 2 Droplets in this build. I guess I was messing around with Dark Hole. I wonder where I put my last Droplet. Yeah, I was messing around with Dark Hole. I feel like Dark Hole is super cute because, the Azumina cards of course gets extra effects when they're destroyed. So it's like, kind of nice to like Dark Hole your own Rishialago and get an extra search for a simple spell, right? But of course, I don't feel like Dark Hole is like particularly well positioned in the metagame. So yeah, we have a droplet and then also 3 goats, and then what I wanted to play as my last board breaker was 3 talents. And the reason behind it, apart from just talents is a good card, the reason behind it is that we should be pretty much able to do what we want if we draw 2 extra cards. Like, I feel like drawing 2 cards in this deck in particular is really powerful because, you know, if you're stuck with your Debtors, but you need a simple spell, if your Sylvie gets, you know, hand trapped and you need another extender, it's just so likely that we can continue to play if we draw 2 cards. I know that maybe sounds like it's like duh, of course, right? But we are playing a lot of engines, so yeah. And then also if we get drawled, which is, you know, of course really bad, then talents is also really nice because we can look at their hand and rip 1 card from it, and that could be something that really saves us in the scenarios where we get drawled. Same scenario, right, if they use the Mulchamis in the main phase. And then, you know, going second, it's just a nice board breaker, right? It's like, I was just spending a ton of time looking at detonator outs, right? And, you know, we all know them. We all know Metal Tronus and Slayer and stuff like that. And I was just like, you know what? A Droplet and Black Goat Laughs are already pretty nice detonator outs. So why not play a card that is really, really strong when they have other stuff than Detonator, like something like Detonator Caesar, right? In that situation, I feel like Talents is super strong, and against other decks is super strong. And then sometimes when we go second again, like for example in the Malice matchups, I feel like we can out-engine them really nicely. So just drawing 2 in a lot of situations could be pretty good. So yeah, I'm trying out the talents. I feel like it makes sense. This would, in my previous builds, have been like 2 thrusts and, yeah, 2 thrusts and a talents probably. And I still think that's valid, right? You could definitely do that. But the thing is, I'm not playing woes in this build, so I don't feel like I have a super strong set with thrust going first in game 1. And then also, you know, I do feel like drawing 2 is often sometimes stronger than setting something with thrust. Especially since we don't have the space for the silver bullets, right? In the side deck, like our side deck is super tight, so we don't really have any of the, you know, dimensional barriers and stuff like that. And then I just went down to 40 cards. Like I was like, I have been playing 41 for the longest time, and it's like maybe it's time to just go down to 40 again, because that is one way where we actually increase our consistency of our deck. And we see more of the cards that we want to see. We see more Sylvies, we see more sets, we see more Debtors, we see the Simple Spoils cards more often. Just feel like it was the right choice. So this is the 14 non-engine for now. So it's kind of like a board breaker with a couple of hand traps. And then, you know, also the cold buy, because you have to fit in the cold buy somewhere. Usually, you know, you could put it in the side deck, but if you don't have enough cards, space in there, cold buy could also be pretty nice in the main, right? You know, I could choose to play woes instead of cold buy in my main deck, but I feel like cold buy is honestly a bit better than woes going first. Because, you know, it's like woes is good when you get drawled, right? But cold bite just negates the drawl, so I feel like cold bite is just a bit better in these scenarios. And yeah, so basically I wanted to show a combo that I've been thinking of. I haven't actually performed it, but I've just been sort of keeping it in my mind. So let's see if I can remember it. I feel like I can. It's pretty much something that I feel like basically when I went over the Estella and the tails, this is the thing that I was sort of imagining. My reason for playing Estella even to begin with, and then also my reason for playing 3 copies of Tails. So the hand I was thinking of is basically a copy of Tails, some random board breaker, a simple spoil spell. I'm just gonna choose the West thing. You know, Debtors or Hallowed, could also be Hallowed, but just choosing Debtors since that is the more likely card to draw. And then the last card can just be a Fubulas, I guess, maybe. So basically, what this is that the idea here is that we can do our Estella combo. And normally Estella is super weak to hand traps, but what if we just had an Omni Negate? Right, like that's basically the idea. So what if we just normal summon Estella with an Omni Negate on the board? They can take their imperms and their ashes and their veilers and their I don't know what, and they can just forget about it because the Estella will resolve. So we go to the main phase because Debtors can only be activated in the main phase, and we just go Debtors here and we send the Subversion. And we just summon out the Sylvie. And obviously if we had drew the Estella, this would be a bit better, but I'm just going to be a bit more realistic since we're only playing 1 copy of Estella anyway. Probably had this one, so just go activate Tails here and grab out the Estella. And then we're just gonna activate Estella and send out the Forbidden Droplet. And summon out Sylvie. And you know, this is a situation, I guess, where it doesn't really matter what card we get here, because we summon Sylvie and we get to search a white for a spell card, right? And we can search, basically, we could search another Tails, we can search the fusion spell, or we could search like woes or something like that. But the thing is, it's just gonna be used 2 times to send to the graveyard because we are making the Rigiella after this, and then we needed to send it, and then after that we are basically we are searching at LZ. So, and then we need something to send to the graveyard for LZ. So I don't think it actually matters what you grab here. I don't think there's any particular advantage to having a diffusion spell in the graveyard. And since we have the Omni, we're not really scared of being stopped here. But of course, if we were scared of getting stopped, like if we thought that maybe they have, you know, they fault out our Omni and they have a second hand trap, then you could make an argument to grab out the fusion spell or the woes just to be on the safe side. But I'm just gonna grab out this Tails here, and we just go these 2 into, oh, I need some space here, into the, I'm trying to not tilt the camera over. Oh, I can see, you cannot see anything up here. Let me just actually do like this. Okay, you should be able to see the Rigiella now. And then we just send this request for Rushiela, and we search out the LZ. And then we have the tails setting itself back, the Estella summoning itself out, and then we need to activate LZ here and then just set the tails. That's what I meant with does not really matter too much because of course our last card in hand is this Foolas. If it were another spell card, then this line would be a bit different, I guess, because then you had a choice to make. But then we summon out the LZ as mean LZ, and we just use her to make the bell so that we get her effect to search when used as synchro material. And we just say as mean LZ chain link 1, the bell chain link 2. I guess actually in this scenario you could say that if you got the fusion spell or the woes, then you can add that back. But I just wanted to add back the Debtors in this combo because the Debtors is actually an endboard piece, right? You can use it during your opponent's turn to make the Sol, to just send something to the graveyard. And that's pretty powerful. Of course, you could also add back this one. If your argument was that you'd want the fusion spell back for an extra simple spells card, then you could add back this one instead. And this would, of course, allow you to maybe make the Saint Asmina a bit more easily. But then I feel like your endboard would still be a bit weaker since I feel like this one adds the most to the endboard out of all those things. If you were playing woes, then you could add back the woes in this scenario, or the APs or any of those, and then that would of course be better than Debtors. But you'd still have the option of adding back Debtors, and I feel like this is still pretty good. So I don't feel like you're missing out on too much by not playing the woes or the APs in this scenario. But anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself. We need to just add the deception here. If this Fuvalas was not a monster but another spell card, but a spell card, then you'd probably have to add Wanted instead at this point, because we don't really want to tribute any of these two, because one of them needs to be used to make Muddy and the other one needs to be the light monster that we use to make Albion. So we don't really want to get rid of any of these two. Of course, it's not that we can't play if we have to. It's just that it would be we would in that scenario just get the Wanted first and then just tribute the Witch with Deception. But of course, if this Molchami was a spell and trap card, then you'd also have the option of sending that to the graveyard, and then whatever you search of Rishiela you could have in your hand anyway. So the combo would look a bit different in that scenario. And it would maybe be better, but I'm actually not so sure. Let's find out. We go Deception and Tribute, and we just add the Hallowed. And here we just go activate Hallowed, and we summon out the Rishielago, and we go Rishielago here, and we add back and we add the fusion spell, I guess. Yeah, okay, I was a bit on autopilot there because in reality we could maybe make Saint Asamina without having to we could maybe have made Saint Asmina here without having to fusion summon her with the sinful spells of the White Forest. And I would like to try out what that would look like, but let me just do the combo that I thought of in my head, and that is that we shuffle back here, Because right now, the normal thing that I would do if it wasn't for Debtors, I would just say, hello, tagging this as a Minel set, shuffle it back and add it back, and then we can go, these two into muddy, and yeah, now like we have a hallowed activation here, but it's awkward because we don't really have a rank 1, or we have both our small Asaminas on the field we need, and we also have the setup to fusion summon Saint, so we could make Saint if we had another Sinful spell, but at the same time we don't really need to, because we can just make her now, which we're going to do. So we're just going to go Muddy to make Albion, and then go Albion to fusion summon, and then chain this one. And we use these two here to make Saint Asmina. And then we use, and then Albion will trigger, and we'll use these two here to make Dragoon. Like here, for example. And then this will go to the graveyard. And we'll just say Saint Asmina here. Summon out the Morgina. We'll do activate. Where is the wanted? Did I not? Oh, I've just completely forgot to search. Right. So let me just backtrack a bit. I just completely forgot to do the whole wanted thing. I guess you have to actually. Yeah, okay, let me just backtrack. I'm sorry. Let me just backtrack here, because we just didn't do the whole wanted thing. So we summoned out this. This is in our graveyard. These two are on the field. Rishialago still in our graveyard. We add back the Debtors, and then we have the Fuvalas, and then instead of searching this card here, we need to search out the wanted, basically. Yeah, let me just do it this way first, and then I'll see, because we could potentially also just make Saint Asmina here without, because then we search Diabellstar here. We go summon out the Diabellstar, setting the Fulas, set the Deception here, add the Hallowed. We go fusion summon here into the Rishialago, and then we go Rishialago here and add the fusion spell, and then we'll do summon back the Sylvie, use these two to make Mighty Mud Dragon to fusion, making Albion, then Albion, chaining 1, and we chain the fusion spell here, and we just go fusion summon Saint Asmina, and then the Albion will resolve, and fusion summon out the Dragoon, and then here we just summon out the Morgina, and we go activate wanted, targeting the fusion spell, chain Morgina, pop the Rishialago, and then we'll go put the fusion spell on the button, draw for wanted, Rishialago trigger, search out the fusion spell, and then we go Morgina effect, summon back the and I'm just gonna not draw something that is a endboard piece. So, and then we have it here, and we have the fusion spell, and we have the debtors, and then in the end step, the deception will set itself back. Yeah, okay. So I'm sorry for that. You had to go through the wanted line there. The debtors is kind of just screwing up the combo, just making the line different. And so here you have, you know, a bunch of different options. You have something in the hand for Dragoon. You can activate your debtors. You need to be a bit mindful of your spell and trap resources in regards to Diabel here. So, you know, because you kind of want to maximize the use of your spell traps here. So you'd probably, and we also didn't end on Diabel. Which is another thing that sorcerers can actually be used for, by the way. But you do something like, okay, Diabel, activate here, and summon out the book, and then you'll go, you know, it'll set, add back to hand, and you'll go something like, okay, use my Omni, and then use my Dragoon also, something like that. And then you'd go activate this to summon out a Guiding Chimera, for example, using these three, or these three. Probably want to keep the Dragoon on the board in case it survives, and then chain the Debtors so that we can summon out the Soul and the Guiding Chimera, and we can send one card to the graveyard, pop 2 cards, draw a card. Yeah, you know, stuff. You could also, if we could also make like the Dracostapilia, if that makes the layering a bit better, we can just use the Dracostapilia instead. Instead of the Guiding Chimera. But yeah, so let me just rewind a bit and try out to see if there was any way to summon out Saint Asamina here without using the fusion spell, basically. I mean, the quick play fusion spell. Or, I mean, specifically, Simple Spoils of the Wild Forest. That's the one I'm talking about. So this time I'm just going to keep these cards in my hand as sort of, or not in my hand, but I'm just going to keep them to the side instead so that I don't have to search them through the deck. But yeah, but so it was basically full combo, right? And it was under an Omni Negate. So, you know, of course, pretty nice. And the Debtors here, right? So basically we start out with the Debtors. We send this to the graveyard to make our Omni Negate. And then we activate the tails in order to grab the Estella. We normal summon the Estella and we send the droplets to the graveyard. Right, that's pretty much it. And we also emptied our hand a bunch. So what we are, I guess, looking at now is, was it possible for us to summon Saint Asmina their intended way? And we get our search here, so that is a choice point. And I would think that we need at least the Sinful Spoils card here. So I'm just gonna add that. I'm not even playing Woes anyway. And, you know, oh, I guess we could add the tails here because an extra copy of tails, but because we're just gonna send it to the graveyard anyway. Yeah. Yeah, so I mean, I think maybe in a real game I would add the fusion spell if I get double interrupted or something like that. Let's just add the fusion spell because we have 2. So it shouldn't come up. I guess in the resource game and the grind game it could be a consideration to add to not add the fusion spell, just so you have one in the deck, but we'll see. So we go summon out the Rishalago here. We send this to the graveyard in order to search out Elset. And then we have Estella is coming back, and our fusion spell is summoning itself. We activate Elset here to send this to the graveyard. And we add our Asamina Elset, summon out the Asamina Elset. And we do this to make Diabel, and we go Diabel chaining 2, and I guess we just, maybe we are supposed to add back, maybe we cannot make this Saint Asamina the regular way if we add back the Debtors. Maybe that is the choice point here, because yeah, let's just add back the Debtors and see if that was what changed everything. And of course, we needed to, in the previous example, we needed to add the Wanted here with Asamina said, because we needed to have the Wanted in the graveyard for when we do our whole pub thing. But we were not able to, we were adding the fusion spell of Rishalago, so. But this time the fusion spell should not be necessary, since we're trying to make Saint Asamina the intended way, quote unquote. And we can just search the fusion spell of the pub, to move Rishalago pub at the end of the turn anyway. So let's try to add Deception. Let's see, Deception, tribute this monster here. And then we add the Hallowed, of course. And then here we go Hallowed. We summon out the Rishalago. And then Rishalago will trigger here, and we definitely just add the Wanted. And then we go Hallowed. And yeah, so now we are in position where we are lacking a simple spell in order to hard make Saint. Let's see. Could we have added Queen at any point? We get our simple spell search of Asamina set, and that at that point we have to add either Wanted or Deception. Otherwise we can't do our Asamina combo. Then we get our second search of Rishalago. And at that point we could add the Queen, but I don't think it would make much sense, because when we summon the Rishalago, we are only, one fusion summon away from the Saint, and the Queen is kind of useful for 2 fusions. So if you see what I mean, like you cannot use Queen as 2 simple spells card. You can use her once as a simple spells card, and then use her again as a simple spells card. So in this situation, where the only fusion monster we need to make is the Saint, I don't think Queen will make any difference compared to any other simple spells card, which is, unfortunate. And then, and yeah, that was the only 2 choice points we had in regards to searching simple spells cards. So I do not think it would make sense to add the Queen at any point. Now, maybe, of course, if we added back, say we added back this card here, instead of the Debtors, then, we would have enough at this point here. So, and what would that give us? I guess it would give us an extra Sorceress, actually. So we go Hallowed, and we go Chain the Wanted. So the Wanted adds the... Oh, wait. We cannot do this now. We need to make Dragoon first. Yeah. So I was just getting ahead of myself. We get clogged up on zones if we fusion summon now. So we go summon out this, and then we go these 2 here into Mighty Mud Dragon. Then we go Mighty Mud Dragon effect, and we summon out the Albion. Then we go Albion effect, and we make the dragoon. Okay, now we have a bunch of space cleared up, and then in this scenario we can pretty much just make Saint. We go exit chain wanted here to add the bell star, and then the hello resolves, and we just send all these to the graveyard, and we summon out Saint, and then we just do a thing here where we summon out Mohakina. And I guess this is a better combo like post-siding if we wanted to. We just get a free search off of this Omni. So let me show you how, because we go wanted here and we target the fusion spell, of course. But then we can... So basically we have not used Moragina to summon back an illusion from the graveyard, right? And there's nothing really useful to summon back. Actually, there is no targets right now. Because we have not used the Abel as a fusion material, and the Mauricio Lago, we never used her as a material for anything either. So we are kind of, you know, it's like we don't have anything nice to summon back with Moragina. But if we were post side, we could just pop the Ilya Sylvir and search out the trap. And remember, we are under an Omni still, so there's no real downside to doing this. And we can just summon back the Ilya Sylvir. But I guess maybe we should have used this Mauricio Lago as a material for something in this combo. And the only thing I could maybe potentially see that we could use her as a material for would be something like a Libellion. And that would... It wouldn't really have made a ton of difference in the sense that we tributed the Fuvulas in our hand as a material for deception. And if we, because we have you know, Diabellstar in our hand, we obviously don't want to discard her, but at the point of where we had the choice to use as a Mauricio Lago as a material for Libellion, we don't have any cards in hand that we want to discard. So what we could have done is that we could have tributed either Estella or a set for Deception instead and kept the Fuvulas in our hand and then used the Fuvulas as a tribute, because we don't need the Estella or a set if we, you know, of course, make the Libellion instead. So that would not really make any difference in terms of card advantage. And I guess if for example the Fuvulas was not a monster, we could have done all this. We could have done all this and still, yeah, we could have done all this still. So in the case where the Fuva was a spell trap, maybe we should look at that afterwards. Yeah, that could maybe be a good idea. But anyways, I'm getting ahead of myself. Wanted here, tackling this. Oh, sorry, my cat is going crazy. And then Moragina here to pop these two. And then we draw off of wanted. Or we put this on the bottom of the deck. We draw off of wanted. And then we get the searches here, and I'm just gonna add this one here and this one here. And then in this scenario here, we just summon out the witch, and we set the sorceress with the witch, and we set these two cards here, and we use Moragina to summon back the Ilya Sylvir here. And this is like, you know, and then we also get the deception here. So compared to last time, you know, we got the extra search here, which might or might not have mattered depending on if we're in game post side or not. In game one, it wouldn't have made a difference, so you could take this out. Of course, we also have this now. So that's basically an extra Omni. So is that better than Debtors? Yeah, I would say so. I would say that's better than Debtors. And then we also we end on the Black Witch, which is a really nice thing to end on because you can just use it as a fusion material. You can bounce it back to the hand and then use it as a fusion material. You can bounce it back to the hand, send it for Dragoon, and then, you know, she comes back, gives you value, gives you a follow-up. Just a nice card to have on the field. Of course, we cannot use the Diabelle book right now, but, you know, we just have to use the Omni first or something like that. We also don't actually have a card in hand at the minute, I can see. So that is maybe also potentially not too great because we cannot really use the Dragoon. Of course, post side, we can just send... wait, that wouldn't actually make too much of a difference. Yeah, we need to use the Omni, this one first, and then we kind of need to use the Diabelle to summon out the book, and that will trigger out the Elsa to get add back to the hand, and then we have something in the hand for Dragoon. So, you know, that's not super optimal, and I guess if this were post-side, right? If this were, oh, sorry, pre-side, then instead of searching this extra trap card here, you know, we could have just revived back the Murcielago and then send it to the graveyard for Witch. And then we would still have this Black God Laughs in our hand on our opponent's turn. So, you know, maybe this is actually just fine because we still need to summon out the Witch. The Moragina could summon back the Rishilago, and we could just send that to the graveyard to summon out the Witch so that we don't have to pitch our wanted draw. Yeah. But I guess I'll just scoop up these cards real quick and we'll do the scenario where the Fuvelas is not actually a Fuvelas, but a monster card instead. So that's gonna be interesting to see if that changes anything. I think maybe it will. Or maybe it won't. So we look at our hand again. It's the Tails. It's Debtors. It's this. Oh, let me get the QCI Tails. That's the first one, actually. It's this Deception or Subversion, sorry. And we also had a Droplet. And then let's say that it's a Black God Laughs, I guess. So that we just start out with, well, let me get these cuts right. We start out with the Debtors, send these to the graveyard here, summon out our Omni, then we go Tails effect, add the Estella, we go Estella, send the Droplets to summon out a Sylvie effect here. In this case, we could actually grab something like the fusion spell or maybe a woes because we do have the other spell here. So we can say these cards, institute Rushilago, send this card to the graveyard, search out the little set here. Then this card comes back. This card comes back. Here we can actually just use the Black God Laughs in our hand for all set. I don't know. I mean, then we don't have it as a discard for Lobelion, so let's keep that in mind. We summon her out here. And then we grab out... oh, I shuffled her into the deck, I think. And then we grab out... Asaminal set. And then we summon out the Asaminal set. And then here we... I wonder if we search wanted or deception here. Let's try searching. Let's add back the Sinful Spoils card, and let's search Deception, and then we go Deception Tribute here, and we add Hallowed, and we just go Hallowed, activate here, and oh, I have them all up here, sorry. Summon out the Rishilago, and then we go Rishilago, add the Wanted, and I guess we could have added back whatever we wanted, pun not intended here, because we can just go Hallowed, shuffle back to a set, and we can just go Hallowed, chain the Wanted, and add the Witch, and then we just use these three as materials to make Saint. Whoops. Make Saint. And then yeah, now we need to, I mean, now we don't have our third, we don't have, we can't go into Albion here, we need to go into Lobelion, but we don't have, we don't actually have, actually have a discard in hand. But we could just search whatever we are missing here with the Rishilago. Yeah. So like we could, because I don't think we've used the send to graveyard effect of this card right here. Or the add back. Yeah, well, we definitely have. Otherwise it wouldn't be here. But so this did not really matter. So let's say that this was just an extra copy of Tails. Like we didn't search the fusion spell with Sylvie, we just searched an extra copy of Tails. We sent it to graveyard for Michelle, it came back. We then sent it to the graveyard for Elset. Instead of sending the Black God Lass. And then we should be at the same point right now. And then we just go here, we just summon out, we summon out Morigina here. And we go activate Wanted, targeting the Subversion, I guess. And we go chain Morigina to pop the Rishilago. We draw, and oh, I guess the Rishilago gets popped first. We draw a card. Then the Rishilago here gets to search us the fusion spell. And then we go Sylvie here to summon back. And we go these two into Muddy, of course. And then we go more Regina here. Oh, if we didn't shuffle back, we had to shuffle back the Asamina set. But that is technically a light monster that Morigina can revive. But yeah, I think we definitely have to shuffle her back. So we have to go summon out this. Oh, well, we could also just use the Abel here. Yeah, we could just use the Abel in this situation. Because she's a light monster and we can summon back any illusion. So we can just say, okay, use the Abel here to summon out this, and then use this to summon out the Dark Dragoon. and then we use Morgana to summon back the Diabell. And then we're in this position where we, yeah. Wait, this was just better, right? Because, yeah, this was just better, because last time the issue was that we haven't used our Morgana summon. Now we are in a similar position. We have an extra card in our hand because we never actually needed the extra card for anything. That's so funny. We never actually needed the extra card for anything because we could just use the Diabell as a fusion material because it's a light monster, right? Let me just double check. Yeah, Fall of Albus plus a light monster. And then we can just make Dragoon like this. And yeah, but I mean, it's still the case that now in this situation, we need to send something to the graveyard for our witch. And that might as well just be the fifth card in our opening hand, right? That might as well just be the goat. It could also be that we drew, let's say we drew like, yeah, triple Tactics Trust, and they never really used anything against us, so we can just send that, I guess. Although, you know, the goat could also have just been another card. Essentially, I guess it just has to be another card because we don't really want to send any of our other cards to the graveyard in this combo. Yeah. So we can just summon out the Diabell here, and we can set the Sorceress, and we can set the fusion spell, and the Deception comes back in the end phase. So yeah, because this is better because we have a card in our hand to discard for Dragoon. Yeah. So the way that we would layer this is basically, I guess it's still a bit cramped, right? And so the thing is that it's a bit hard for us to activate anything apart from the Ilias Silvera or the Dragoon at this point. Like we can't really book, we can't really summon anything with Diabell. We also don't really have any, like we do have some Sinful Spoiled cards that we can activate, but the most likely scenario is probably that we are, unless they play like a crazy board breaker or something, we let them play for a bit, and then we negate something with the Ilias Silvera. This will then change, and we then chain this to pop two things. And then now we have some extra space left up, so we can use something like the Diabell here to summon out. And, you know, we could also just, you know, after we've done that, we could, for example, say, okay, use Dragoon to pop something. And we actually get an Estella here, but we need to be a bit careful about not clogging the board. But if we use Dragoon here to pop something, and then we can use maybe not really here. Maybe we don't bring this back, and then we use Deception, for example, and we get back this, and then, oh, not Deception, or Diabell, and we add back this to our hand, and then now we have our Guardian Chimera alive, so we can just say boom, make this Guardian Chimera using these two probably, and then this in our hand. I am noticing that now we don't have, if we go for the Guardian Chimera here, we don't actually have an extra, oh yeah, we do, we draw one of the Guardian Chimera. Oh, that's really clutch. So we get the Guardian Chimera, we get 2 pops here. Or maybe it was actually more correct to use the Diabell star instead as material. Yeah, because now we get 2 pops, we get to draw 1. And then the Diabell will trigger. We'll send this to the graveyard to summon her back. And then she will trigger, and we'll probably set something like, you know, we could set a wanted. We could also set another fusion spell. We could also set the subversion. Subversion could be pretty decent. Let's just set the wanted, I guess. And then we go sorceress, target this card to send it back into our hand. And we summon out the Dragoon. And now we have an extra Dragoon. And then, you know, when it gets back to us, here we get a bunch of stuff. We have summon back here with the Sylvie. We have the Hallowed, which we can, you know, recur. And then the Debtors can just revive the Omni in our turn. So, yeah, bunch of stuff we can do during our turn. We have the Witch in our hand. We also have Wanted, so even if we discard the Witch for Dragoon, then during our turn we can just add it back with Wanted. You know, we can even say something like, yeah, we can do so much stuff during our turn. So yeah, I guess that's that was the most optimal way of doing it. Just tributing off one of the Elsted or Estella for the deception, because we can just make make Saint and get Diabell back. And I guess the moral of the story was that adding back Debtors was not, assuming like we don't get stopped, then adding back Debtors is not the correct move. The correct move is just to add back the basically just add back the subversion. It's shuffled into the deck now, but just add back the simple spells, because that will help you make Saint Asmina, and you don't need to worry about. And that will give you a lot more interruptions than Debtors will. So yeah, I feel like that was a pretty nice combo. And of course we didn't actually use Queen Asmina, which is, you know, maybe a bit sad, but I don't think there was any point in searching it again. It's like you need to have it very early on, because it helps you with the first and the second Asmina monster you summon. But obviously it does not really help you make the third Asmina monster. Unless, you know, you're summoning Lucilago as your last, or Ilia Silvera as your last, which is kind of weird. So it helps you make Ilia Silvera and then Lucilago. Does not really help you make Saint Asmina too well. So, and there's also not really, I feel like, any point where you want to search Queen Asmina, unless you just have all the other Simple Spells cards. Like, if you already have Wanted, for example, then I think maybe you can search the Queen instead. If you already have Sorceress, basically, I think maybe if you already have Wanted, then you can search the Queen. I think maybe that's the thing. But anyway, thank you for watching. I'll turn this video off now.